Courtney Clenney from OnlyFans. Is she a slayer or was it all self defense? We are here tonight to break it down for you. This is the No Contest podcast, the Kolsrud King Reid Report. Josh Kolsrud, Holland Reid. I'm Claudia King. We're so excited to be back with you tonight. And guys, I think this is the case to come back on because this one has some amazing twists and turns legally, socially. I think this is going to be a great one. So, first off, so quickly, how's everybody doing tonight? Josh, how's it going?
Oh, it's so good to be back, and it's great to see you too. With everything that's going on at Court TV, it's hard to kind of stay in touch like we used to. But, it's also kind of hard not to stay away from our podcast just because it's so much fun. So I do have a new book coming out. It's going to be immigration and criminal law and how they come together. I'll let everybody know a little bit more about that once I start getting copies, but I went to press this week. So really excited about that. Yep. And Holland, I heard that you have a Hollywood contract. Like, what's going on?
Well, something, something.
A little something, something. Life has been lifing lately, and I've been just trying to manage. And when we say it was March Madness, it was 2026 madness. And I'm just kind of coming off the heels of all of that. But with all of that, family and what have you, I did get some really good news that I booked a role in a production, and I can't wait to share it. Can't really divulge into all the details yet, but you got to keep pushing and keep being creative. And as the resident creative and entertainment lover and true crime lover here, I will say that anyone that is pursuing anything right now, Josh, congratulations. Claudia, always good seeing you on Court TV, even still with all the upheavals. Just keep going. That's all I wanted to say to everyone. So yeah, I'm glad to be back with you guys.
I love it. And thank you for that, Holland. Yes, I have been doing my time on Court TV still, and I will be at CrimeCon as well. So
It's so cool.
definitely, yeah, anybody who's at
Tell our viewers what
CrimeCon.
that is.
Yeah, so CrimeCon, it's something I've always wanted to go to. If you are a true crime aficionado, you should go to CrimeCon because it's basically all things true crime. So, podcast, TV shows, survivors, victims, everybody other than the criminals, they don't really let them in. Everybody else is welcome.
They're in
And
cages.
right, yeah, they're in cages. We don't want them there. But it's 3 days of crime, mayhem. You get to meet and greet with all your favorite stars. All the podcasters have like kind of a room set up where you can go talk to all of them. So I'm stoked. And guys, it's in Vegas this year. So I'm stoked.
Let's hope
But
everyone behaves in Vegas because we don't want
I know
anything
I will.
happen to
I
their
know
state
I
for
will.
crime. Okay.
Yes. So what happens in Vegas will not stay in Vegas because it's Crime Con. But let's dive into this Courtney Clenney case. So for anybody that doesn't know, April 2022, Courtney Clenney, aka Courtney Tailor, was a prevalent OnlyFans star, I guess, Instagram model with nearly 2 million followers. She was involved with a man named Christian Obumseli. And in April 2022, he died from a stab wound to his chest. She was there, and she is now claiming self defense. She is in jail and charged with second-degree murder. Okay, I have so much that I want to break down. I'm going to start with her claim of self defense. So she says that she threw the knife at him, and then somehow magically it went 3 inches deep at a downward angle into his chest. And I say, that's a no for me, dog, because I have done knife throwing. And let me tell you, it's not as easy as it looks. You cannot just, and it lands exactly where you want it, 3 inches deep at the downward angle on a man who was much taller than her. So Josh, I want to hear from you first. What are your thoughts on the charges of second-degree murder? And is self-defense the only thing she's got?
So I think the charges are appropriate. Second-degree murder is that you knowingly and intentionally killed somebody without premeditation. And there's no real evidence here that says that she was planning to do this. So I think that the charge of second-degree murder is appropriate. Now, this OnlyFans model, really did herself a disservice, I think, by making this statement about throwing the knife. She would have been much better if she would have said that she stabbed the guy, that she was in fear for her life. And, there was only one stab wound. So obviously defensive, but she says something that appears, at least on its face, to be so absurd that it's hard to take anything seriously from anything else she says. Now, what I find interesting from a prosecutor's perspective is that she said that she was on the ground when she threw the knife. So, presumably, I haven't heard anything that she has some knife throwing ability and that this is the first time that she's ever done this. So she threw the knife from a sitting position on the ground towards a man who is at least 10 or 15 feet away from her. I don't believe the allegation is that he was right on top of her. And, when you're saying that something is self-defense, and again, I'm looking at this from a prosecutor's perspective, you're looking at distance. Like, if you are saying that your life was in danger and this was the only way to put a stop to that, but the person was 15 feet away and you're throwing a knife at him, it doesn't seem as plausible than if you stabbed him and he was a foot away from you. So that's one of the things I'm looking for. Now, interestingly, the defense is calling an expert who practiced some knife throwing on a pig carcass. But there are some obvious issues with the example of expert that they're using in this case. The angle I've heard from the prosecutor's reports is different. Also the trajectory and the physics don't actually align up as well. So the defense has a lot going for it the prosecution has a lot going for it in terms of defeating that part of the defense's theory. Now, here's where things get interesting. I think the closest way or at least the most successful way that the defense has to winning this case is by showing that the OnlyFans model had a reasonable fear for her life based on prior domestic abuse. And that's a type of defense that we've seen before. We saw it in the Jodi Arias case. We've seen it in others as well. And it's not an imperfect self-defense like what we've talked about with like the Menendez brothers, the old abuse excuse. It's a full self-defense claim. And here, I've heard reports of up to 15 or 20 witnesses that both sides are going to be calling as witnesses to show the violence, the prior violence of both the victim and the OnlyFans model, the defendant. And the reason why this is admissible is to show who the aggressor was, who has a propensity for violence. Because when you claim self-defense, you have to actually admit to the crime. It's an affirmative defense. So you're saying, yeah, I committed second-degree murder, but it was justified because of self-defense. And here, they might be able to sway some jurors with the domestic violence stuff. However, the second part of the equation is, justifying that the violence was a valid excuse in the case. And, I just haven't seen anything yet that the defense has provided that makes me feel that this knife throwing thing is going to work for them. Again, I don't think that this is something they just came up with. I mean, obviously, this is because of what she said at the time, and she's painted herself into a corner when maybe she didn't mean to, or certainly didn't need to. There you have it.
Well, this is why, again, and I don't like to sit here and help out defendants, but this is why you always say attorney when the police want to question you. Attorney. That's all you say.
Magic words.
Holland. Yes, that's it. Yes. Holland. So Josh brought up. Thank you. See, she got it, you guys. That's it. The show's that. Thank you. Everybody come back next week. So Holland, Josh brought up a great point of domestic abuse. And what we have seen so far, though, and obviously these are just trickles that have been released from the prosecution, is Courtney Clenney, the defendant, engaged in abusive behavior against the victim, Christian Obumseli. We have seen the elevator video, which was pretty shocking. And we've also heard some arguments between them. And apparently he had purchased this recording device or was recording these conversations for his protection. So I want to dig into that a little bit. First off, do you think this is a case of potentially she's this poor, pitiful victim and we've just got it all wrong based on what we've seen? Or is Christian truly the victim here through and through? And like a typical unfortunate domestic violence relationship, Courtney Clenney took it to the point of killing her victim.
Ooh, what a layered question. So the first thing that I wanted to, I know, here we go, hauling down her rabbit hole. I'm going to stay calm. But the first thing that I want to tackle is the idea that both of them are innocent. I don't believe that that's the case. I believe both of them have been volatile in different ways. I don't know who necessarily was the aggressor. I believe they had a very passionate and aggressive relationship, period. I think this time one of them took it too far to the death, unfortunately. And I believe that sometimes that heat of passion or the crime of passion is what happens in situations like this, when one person becomes so unhinged that they can't stop. You know,
Great point.
You know this. We know, I know this, where to the point of restraint, I'm just like, please just stop, right? Not either one of us are perfect victims or aggressors or whatever you want to call it, but both sides of the coin, I think, fit here. The second point is she some pitiful victim? Hell no, not even the least little bit, because of the evidence that has been brought forward. I think that's going to Josh's point about reasonable doubt and what's going to be believed in the court. Was she just finally, Josh, I'm sorry, what did you say? You said, was she finally the victim of, I forgot what you said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, was she the victim of some type of domestic violence syndrome, really?
Yes.
Where she had it has successfully been used by defense attorneys, that you can be placed in reasonable fear of imminent physical harm based on prior domestic abuse. So that's where I think the fight is going to be at this trial.
Absolutely. And so that's my second point is, at the end of the day, okay, you're going to have someone that, yeah, she's OnlyFans. She has a persona online. She's doing whatever she's doing. We've seen both sides of this. We've seen the most happiest, go lucky couples, families, what have you. Then they kill their husbands and they write a book about it. Then we see people that are, fierce, fight for the justice, and they're also victims of abuse behind closed doors. So you get both sides of those coins with online personas versus, what's going to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in the court of law. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. With this particular case, this man was getting recording devices. Why? Did she get recording devices? What was he trying to record? What was he trying to, demonstrate as a pattern of behavior with this person behind closed doors? Was it something that he was in fear of his life about and didn't know how it was going to end? Because I hate to bring up the race card. He is the black, bigger man in the situation. She is the younger, smaller, doting white woman. And we know, I hate it, guys, but we know that this is a, the
Stereotype, yeah.
you know this is this has been for centuries. We know this. Emmett Till, right? We know this. He whistled at a white woman and he was hung from a tree. So we know this, right? So I think this is someone, I think both sides could be true at this point, but I think he ended up being the victim in a volatile situation that neither one of them had the tools to get out of, which is really unfortunate. And that's when it's going to be hard to prove. What I don't like, my last point to make here, what I don't like at the end of this is what Josh said. This idea of throwing a knife. If this girl is not Angelina Jolie in Salt or something like that, then what are we even talking about? I can't throw a knife at a freaking turkey on Thanksgiving and get it to go that far in. So that's just a bizarre defense into itself.
It really is, because I'm telling you, knife throwing is not easy. And if we could get it even just to go the right way and stick a tiny bit into the wood, we were cheering.
And with one revolution, right? You got to work on your revolutions.
Right.
So
it's insane.
Like either she's a marksman and a spy, or worked for the Navy SEALs on the sideline of being an OnlyFans star. Come on,
right.
That dug her own grave, I think, right there.
I agree. So I wanna hit both your points there. So the domestic violence defense, the battered spouse syndrome defense, has been used before successfully. The most recent case I can think of is Marsha Thompson in Florida, and she was literally the epitome of a true, actual domestic violence victim. You could see it, you could hear it, you could tell by her stories, everything. And then we have seen it unsuccessfully used many, many times over since then, even, and then prior. As Josh mentioned, Jodi Arias, we saw the swan dancer lady, Ashley Benefield, unsuccessful, Jodi, unsuccessful. There's a bunch more. Holland, I'm glad you brought up race, though, because unfortunately, I think it is something in this case that we have to think about, unfortunately, because this is an objectively pretty girl. She's slightly less pretty right now that she's in jail, but pretty girl. And he was an attractive dude, but a bigger black man. Josh, does the defense try to use this to their favor, or will that blow up in their face?
Wow, tough question. So, I think that they have to be really careful. I think, honestly, to stay away from it. You don't know who is going to be on your jury, and I think they need to really just focus on the domestic violence. They can certainly talk about the size differences and how one person is bigger than the other, and focus on the evidence itself. Whether or not, the victim did have abuse or commit abuse against her is certainly relevant. And if there's evidence of that, it should come forward. I want to talk about also something really shortly about what Holland said, and it's really important from the defense perspective, and that is heat of passion. It's a lesser included charge of second-degree murder. So what does that mean? So a lesser included charge means that it has all the same elements of murder or attempted murder. Second-degree murder, but it's lacking one thing. And here it would be, the sudden intention to kill. And the defense may have an alternative theory that they throw out, that this was a heat of the passion type of scenario, because the mandatory sentencing guidelines for a heat of passion murder case versus second-degree murder are vastly different. I mean, we're talking somewhere probably around 10 years in prison with the heat of passion, and second-degree murder, you're talking 25 to life. So there's a huge difference there, and Holland made a really good point about that. So I think we pretty much covered the likely defenses so far, given the evidence in the case.
I agree. So I want to talk about, we mentioned that this case has been continued again. So it was supposed to go to trial this month. And remember, this happened in 2022. So when you think about the timeline, right now we're watching some trials where the crimes happened last year. And this is 4 years ago. So, just the clock keeps ticking. She's in jail. What we have seen from her in this time in jail, Holland, is some weird stuff. We have seen her making, kissy faces and funny faces at either the camera in the courtroom or somebody in the courtroom, behavior that it's not in front of the jury, so you don't have to worry about that. But is this a picture of who Courtney Clenney really is? And she's just demonstrating that she doesn't care and she's going to make, kissy faces because she thinks she's above the law? Do we think we have a mental issue here and maybe that's going to come out in trial? What do you think is going on with these antics that are happening in the courtroom?
So I'm only smiling, so don't confuse my behavior with joy in any of this, but I'm smiling because this is my favorite thing to talk about is perceived behavior and construed behavior. So what I think it's a case of delusional entitlement. I think it's a case of you finally are getting the fame and the notoriety that you've always wanted. We can go back and look at every case, the guy with the mugshot who turned into a model, Luigi Maggiano, all these people that have found fame and success over decades and decades. These people got married in jail. They were convicted of murder, blowing their family members' heads off, dismembering people, and they became cult favorites and celebrities. And so I do believe that us being true crime enthusiasts, we do feed the beast. We do. But at the same time, there is also another group of people out there that confuse accountability with reality, and celebrity. It's like, wait a minute, we can enjoy the understanding and the lessons learned in the storylines of these things, but we can't forget the victims. And we can't forget the crime, and we can't forget the accountability that has to be taken amongst these groups of people that have committed, these atrocities. So that's the point that I'm looking at her and I'm watching her. She was an addict of the attention. So she's getting exactly what she's always wanted. And now she's getting it tenfold because of something that she could possibly get away with. So her antics in the courtroom, she's performing, and a performer, and especially a bad performer, you know this, a good performer knows when to sit down and take a step back. A bad performer never stops performing. They keep going. And I feel like she's one of those people.
Yeah. And let me tell you, when I see this, and I used to see this all the time when I was a prosecutor, when you have people between the ages of 18 and 25 who act like she's been acting in the courtroom, blowing kisses, acting inappropriately. It's this cavalier attitude where she actually believes that she's getting out of there, because you don't have that type of arrogance unless you truly believe that this is all a farce and you're getting out. And she seems like she has no concept whatsoever of the consequences of her actions.
There's a disconnect from reality. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Josh. There's a complete disconnect from reality.
Yeah.
What she's doing. Yes, I'm sorry, Josh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Claudia, what have you seen from, your law enforcement background with this type of scenario?
I mean, I agree with what both of you guys said. And I think it's that disconnect from reality. And what's scary about it, Josh, to your point, is that, yeah, I think she thinks, yeah, I'm spending some time in jail. I'm hanging out here. It's not that fun, but I'm gaining more followers. More people know who I am. So I can benefit from that once I do away with this pesky little second-degree murder charge. What I want to hear from you guys, though, because Holland, you brought up a great point. These people end up getting married. They have groupies. They have hundreds of thousands of people writing them letters and wanting to be theirs. At the end of the day, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people, Holland? Is there something in culture, in social media? What is making people so sad and desperate that you want to chase after the Looney Tunes in jail or prison?
Oh man, if I would have gone to school for law and or psychology, I would have the best wonderful answer for you, but I'm going to say it as the layman here in the Holland
That's what we
tone.
want.
I'm going to say it like I say it. People are lonely. People want connection. They will find it in any negative way that they can, whether it's on the internet in the comment section, or whether it's in a jail cell in a weird letter, or it's supporting a cause that makes them angrier or makes them happier. I think we have lost a way, a path to a lot of human connection, and people are desperate. And the people, they latch on to something that, for whatever delusional reason, they connect with. The one thing that they said, and I'll never forget, I watched this entire interview, and I'm sure you probably saw it too. This psychologist, she interviewed a bunch of therapists, and she said most of the women in their late 20s to, I think it was late 50s, their number one way of relaxing was watching true crime because they would rather be stalked than to be lonely. Like they would rather be a
Wow.
potential. I'm being serious. It was like a checklist. Like I would rather someone be obsessed with me than to be single. And I was like, I have to find that interview for you guys. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're lost. We've gone crazy over here. But I understand is because we all sit and doom scroll. We look at people's lives. We want to be important. We want to be loved. We want the attention. We want to look good. And then somewhere down the lines, we go for the thing that's the lowest hanging fruit. And that somebody in jail that needs attention. I don't know. That's just my theory because I think at the end of the day, we are looking for something to bigger than us to be a part of. And for some people, it's the easiest thing to be a part of. And that's someone behind bars that wants also to be a part of the outside world. And I know that sounds maybe not like a psychology degree but that's just mine.
No, I think you're 100% right, because look at the prevalence now of shows like Love After Lockup, Love During Lockup. I watch them all. I'm going to be honest, and every single person is a train wreck, pretty much. There's one or two that come out
90 Day
normal.
Fiance. You can go down the laundry.
Right.
It's like the love is blind, and it's like we're just all looking for something to be a part of. And
Yes, let's
just
don't
falls in the wrong
pick.
hands.
Yeah, don't pick the murderers. Josh, so currently, we're supposedly on schedule for an August 2026 trial. The judge indicated that she was not happy, did not want to hear about another possible continuance. So, final thoughts for now. Do you think we're going to see a trial in August 2026? And what do you think might happen between now and then?
So I like the judge, and I like the judge's demeanor about getting this done. I mean, the case has been sitting around for far too long. There's speedy trial rights, there's victims' rights. There needs to be a resolution to this case. And if the judge has the courage of her convictions, yes, I do think that this trial will take place. Now, before then, one of the things that they allow in Florida are depositions for certain types of witnesses. They do not allow that in most cases or states for criminal cases, but they do in Florida. And so there's an indication that they have between 15 and 20 different depositions that will be taking place before now and then. And that tells me that, I mean, if that takes place, the trial is going to be actually pretty long because that's a lot of witnesses. Another interesting thing that I read was that, these depositions had been previously scheduled and none of the witnesses showed up, which is, unheard of. I mean, you receive a subpoena to show up, and if you don't, that you can easily get arrested. But none of them did that. And I would be curious to see if that was a coordinated effort. And I don't know if they're witnesses for the defendant or if they're witnesses for the victim. So there's a lot to unpack in the next few months, but it's certainly going to be exciting.
That was literally my next question. I was like, wait a minute, from which side? From the defendant or the prosecution?
I think it was both. I could be wrong, but I think I saw somewhere it was like 15 to 20 witnesses and potentially from both sides. So I don't know what's going on either. I agree with Josh. It sounds suspiciously like a coordinated effort. And maybe they're like, you know what? These were both my friends. I don't want to get involved. Like, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Holland, I want to hear some final thoughts from you on this case and from the perspective of social media and the stories that we portray. So we know in looking at both of these individuals, had you only known them through social media, they looked like a beautiful couple. Everything was going right, made a lot of money. Things are fabulous. And then we see behind closed elevator doors, fighting, yelling, screaming, demeaning, abusing. What additionally is going on in the world that, we see one side of somebody and then they can be somebody entirely different. Do we really know anyone at all?
Okay, so I just got so excited. The reason why is because the project that I just booked is literally that concept. It's called Lost in Transaction.
Oh.
Yes, and it's literally about an online couple that is portraying an online couple, and they're giving all this therapy advice, and they're going through hell and back behind closed doors. And I just happened to get to play the mediator, but like I told you, the person, whatever. So that makes me very excited that you just said that, because the reason why is dissecting all of this is that, I think all of us have been in situations at some point where we portray something online and something else is going on behind closed doors. It doesn't matter what the scenario is, whether it's your financial, your relationship, your career. Everyone is trying to look the part, to get the part, to be the part, and what have you. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, here it is. It's whatever, and I'm gonna lay it out for you. And that's just who I am, so I can't speak for anybody else. With that being said, sorry to be long-winded. I think that looking at them from the outside looking in, I can see through the BS right away. I can see a facade. I see this is not quite, what it's mounting up to be. And from my personal experience, and then also conversations, Claudia, that I've had with you, also from being on Court TV and seeing all these crime shows and all these scenarios where it's always the person closest to you that tries to ruin you financially, tries to kill you, is raping you, is setting you up, or whatever. It's always the person that has the most passion for you, because either they won't let you go, or they gotta have you, or they don't want to see you succeed, or they just want to control you. It's one of the other. So this particular situation seems like it's maybe a couple of twofold, things going on. But I would implore anybody, if you're in an abusive situation or in a situation where it's just stop putting your highlight reel out there and go get actual help, go to therapy, talk to people, and that's it. My perception is she is an instigator. I think he is a facilitator of some of the abuse. I think that he tried to control the abuse because he knew the dynamic. I think he tried to maybe get the evidence for it to support it. I've done that before in relationships where I'm just like, let me just collect the evidence so I'm not crazy because I haven't been perfect. And at the end of the day, we've lost a life because we lost a life. Claudia, you can speak on this more than I can. My opinion is it's very layered, but social media plays the biggest impact on perception, and people are looking to that for evidence, and that is the biggest lie ever told. It's a part of the truth, but it's also the biggest part of the lie.
I agree with you 100-fold. And to one of the points you made, I heard something that's funny, but not funny. And it's when you get married, you're now standing next to the person statistically most likely to murder you. So just everybody let that sink in. And on that note, maybe that's why some of these women are going after the dudes in jail, because they know they won't be able to kill them. So I guess in that scenario, are they the smart people and we're the dum-dums? I don't know. Anyway.
I can't. I'm not, and let me just be clear. I'm not, please, for the love of God, do not come after me, internet. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing because of the wit. Oh my God.
Why, thank you. Well, guys, we are going to stay on this case. We're going to see what happens in the coming months. We're going to come back to you next week with another case that is top of the news, top of the world, top in the social media, so that we can chat through the legal aspect, the social media and pop culture aspect. I'll throw in a little bit of law here and there from a law enforcement or domestic violence perspective. So for Josh Kolsrud, Holland Reid, I'm Claudia King. This is No Contest, the Kolsrud, King, and Reid Report. Have a great night.